Round 4 of the Euroformula Open Championship in 2024 from the Hungaroring continues with the first of our two top 6 reverse grid races. 17 laps await the drivers. The grid for this one taken from the results of race 1. So it will be Francesco Simonazzi starting on reverse grid pole position at this Hungaroring circuit, 4.381 kilometers in length. Chris Stevens and George Morgan alongside me for race number 2.
Certainly is, Chris. Welcome back, everybody, to Budapest. We have already witnessed one race happen, and it went the way of Brad Benavides.
Yeah, let's see what happened yesterday. It was Michael Shin starting from pole position for the first time in his Euroformula Open career, but Brad Benavides, the Floridian, getting the better of the South Korean off the line. They ran side by side down the front straight, with Benavides taking the inside line to grab the lead from Shin at the first time of asking. But Shin went out wide onto the concrete runoff area, and that gave Benavides a clean run through. We saw some squabbling further back. Levente Revesh passing Fernando Barrichello for a place on the podium. Jakob Bergmeister and the Brazilian also going toe-to-toe into turn number 1, with Francesco Simonazzi taking advantage of a slight mistake from Barrichello as well, just a couple of corners later. Benavides stretched his legs out at the front of the field. He was very much in command of the first race of the weekend and ended up taking a rather unchallenged victory for the 5th time in 2024. And further extending his championship lead was Benavides. His lead now 78 points over Simonazzi after contact in yesterday's race. Dropped him right down the order. Had to come in for a nose change, did the Italian. And that meant he finished 6th and very nearly a lap down to Benavides as well. He did unlap himself a little bit later on, but that's put him on reverse grid pole for this race. He starts at the front of the field, ahead of Jakob Bergmeister, who will also start on pole position for the race later on. Fernando Barrichello in 3rd, and then Levente Revesh, after his podium finish yesterday, starts in 4th. Michael Shin, yesterday's pole sitter, in 5th, and Brad Benavides, yesterday's race winner, starting in 6th position. Formation lap underway. What are we expecting to see, George?
Well, I tell you what, one thing we have got, once again, Simonazzi and Bergmeister glued together, much like they were coming around turn 2, where Simonazzi, as you so rightly said, lost the end plate on his front wing. Well, the end plate was still there. It was just flapping around a little bit as he was making his way around the track. But this time around, a renewed front wing on the front end of that BVM racing car, and he has a great chance here as the race gets away very shortly to lead into turn 1. But the big question is, with Bergmeister now having an opportunity at the very front end of the order. We all know about Hungaroring, Monaco without walls. That is what they declare it as. Overtaking is never usually easy here, though it is possible. We have seen a few very clever overtakes in the past, harking back to the brilliance that Simonazzi managed to pull off at turn 2 and turn 3 against Oliver Goethe only 2 seasons ago. This time, though, he starts on the front row on pole position with Bergmeister alongside, and Bergmeister, another one who's coming into his own, especially off the back of that 4-wide overtake going through to Les Combes only last round.
And one thing we touched on yesterday was that because of the wet qualifying, all the drivers have fresh boots for all 3 races. Normally they'd have to either run a mixed set of new and old, or a fully old set at some point during the weekend, but because they didn't use any of the slick tires during qualifying, they've all saved a set. They've all got new tires for all 3 races, so everyone's on equal footing in terms of the Pirelli rubber as Simonazzi pulls into the pole position slot. Looked like he was already pointing right ever so slightly towards Jakob Bergmeister. He is very much indeed expecting to have to cut off the German right away, but the green flag is waved at the back. We have all 5 lights on, and we're underway for race number 2 of the Euroformula Open Championship. And Simonazzi does get away well. He pulls in front of Bergmeister, who sits into the slipstream. Simonazzi hugging the right-hand side of the road as Bergmeister comes to the outside line, breaks very, very deep, does the German, side by side for 3rd position as well. Barrichello runs out wide. Simonazzi stands his ground and hangs on to the lead of the race ahead of Bergmeister, with Levente Revesh trying to follow through into 3rd position, but Barrichello into the back of Levente Revesh, wipes himself out, and I think Levente Revesh might have just just got away with it, but Barrichello stranded at turn 2.
I was about to say, Barrichello got an absolutely dynamite start, went alongside Ravesh at the very beginning. They ran wheel to wheel coming in towards turn 1. Unfortunately, heading down through towards turn 2, tapping the back of Ravesh's car. But now they still make their way around. Fortunately enough, I don't think the damage is near enough as bad as what could have been expected given the moment that occurred there, but locking up those brakes, heading through that very sensitive part of the circuit. We've seen what it's like when it's slick around that corner. It's just as treacherous in the dry as well if you get it wrong, but he is back underway. You can see the rubber slightly chewed on those tyres.
Yeah, quite big flat spots on those Pirellis there. So it's Simonazzi leading Bergmeister, Benavides up into 3rd position from 6th. Michael Shin just behind him. Ravesh down to 5th, having fought for 3rd just a few corners ago. And then Fernando Barrichello operating 30 seconds behind the rest of the field. I have a feeling it's going to be a very lonely race for Fernando Barrichello from here on in as they round the final corner for the first time, complete the first lap of 17. Here we can see the move again. You see Barrichello just has a twitch, and he hit Bergmeister as well.
He did.
So Bergmeister did well to gather that up as well, and yeah, Ravesh coming off a little bit worse than Bergmeister there, running wide and falling down to 5th position. So Simonazzi's advantage at the end of the first lap was 9/10 of a second, but Bergmeister coming back at the Italian in the 3rd and final sector of the lap. But I'm sure he'll have Brad Benavides very close company pretty soon. He has been the form man all season long. Only one race so far this year where he has not finished on the podium, and that was race 3 at Hockenheim. 5 wins to his name already this season, does the Floridian. Back in the Euroformula Open Championship, where his career began a few years ago, but Barrichello into pit lane here. And this, oh, now is that a new set going on? Well, now that's going to be a pain for Barrichello, because I'm pretty sure that'll be his race 3 set. And so he's now going to be on used tyres, I would imagine, for the 3rd race of the weekend. So he's not only compromised this race here, he's compromised the last race of the weekend as well.
It certainly has done. If you want to look at the record books as well, considering the last 3 years, Brad Benavides has an opportunity to really upset a trend that has been in formation over the last 3 seasons. Looking back, ever since 2021, we've had 3 different race winners in every single race throughout the every time we've been to the Hungaroring since 2021. Brad Benavides wins this race too. He'll have every chance of breaking that trend. Of course, last time we saw a driver win 2 races or clean up right through was Yifei back in 2020. Marino Sato did it the year prior, and Felipe Drugovich did it back in 2018 on his run to the championship.
I think we saw it with Cameron Dass and Ollie Goethe as well, though, did we not? When it was the 3-race format, that has happened. No?
Back in 2020, I believe, was Yifei, the last who cleaned up. 2021, Chembolok Bassi won the opening race.
That was even, we even had 4 races in a weekend there. We were trying to make up races because of COVID. I remember that. He won all 4 races in Barcelona, did Yifei. So that was a mightily impressive weekend, that is for sure. Not Ollie Goethe, Noel Leon last year came very close at Red Bull Ring last year, didn't he? Had 2 fantastic wins in the first 2 races, and then I think it was only a few tenths of a second away from Kian Shields, who won the 3rd race of that weekend, if I remember rightly. We see Benavides closing in on Jakob Bergmeister here, just half a second behind the young German. The 4th generation driver, Jakob Bergmeister, his father, Tim, a GT Masters champion, Uncle Jorg, a Porsche Works driver as well, but his grandfather, Willie, as well, was a touring car driver. His great-grandfather, a motorcycle racer as well. So racing runs in the Bergmeister blood. And Jakob looking to continue that on. The 18-year-old from Solingen going up against the 22-year-old Floridian in this battle for 2nd position.
Yeah, Jakob Bergmeister, certainly no stranger to winning championships, though. German shifter car champion. Would love to take something a little bigger, this time in car racing, no. And this looks ominous. Now, remember, it was Ravesh that got tapped in the rear by Barrichello at the very start of that race, so some concern certainly looking at that rear suspension. And I did see Ravesh tailing off a little bit. Remember, he was in 3rd place, rounding the left-hander, and now down into 5th.
Yeah, he was something like 6 seconds off the chasing pack by the time he came into pit lane, so definitely some damage there that's compromised his speed. So I think that might well be parked for this race. We're down to Simonazzi, Bergmeister, Benavides and Shin, and Simonazzi's advantage now 3 seconds. He's pumping in fastest lap after fastest lap. In fact, last time around was a full second quicker than Bergmeister and Benavides behind him. Simonazzi absolutely flying in this race, and hunting for his 6th career Euroformula race win. Has taken 2 so far this season, 2 last year as well, and 1 the year before that.
Yeah, we'll be heading to Austria later in the season as well, where he would lay claim to his first ever win that was actually decided in Parc Fermé after the cars came into the garage. A late penalty, throwing the victory in his favour, and the emotions ran wild, certainly as far as Simonazzi was concerned. He gave out a very exhausted, yes, I've done it. And I must say it was a great achievement for BVM Racing, who have placed their faith in Francesco Simonazzi over the last few seasons, and quite rightly so. The passion burning bright for the Italian stallion, who has now advanced his charge out to 3.6 seconds ahead of Jakob Bergmeister in 2nd place, with Brad Benavides in 3rd, looking to become a winner for the 2nd time this weekend, and looking to add to that 5 tally that he's managed to put together. Would be nice to make it 6, as now they fly through the chicane coming out of turn 6 and 7. Getting closer as well as Michael Shin, who I must say has really kicked things up a notch. Was sensational in qualifying, is now unfortunately off the back of achieving that brilliant pole position in this reverse grid scenario, starting from the back of the race, but on the back of the grid for this race, therefore having to try and claw it all back. But it's still Simonazzi in full control, and looking to try and bring that points gap between he and Brad Benavides just a little bit tighter, leading through to the 2nd half of the championship.
Michael Shin there, the white wing tips on the number 23 car. That's how you tell some of the motor park cars apart. You've got Bergmeister with the black wing tips, and also the blue T-cam on the top there. You can just see the bright blue helmet as well for Bergmeister. Checking the mirrors on the right-hand side down the straight to see where Benavides is. But Bergmeister, we were talking about his shifter kart championship. That was only 18 months ago or so. He's only in his 2nd year of car racing. Started last year in F4 UAE, and then straight into the Euroformula Open Championship. And as a proper rookie, it was quite an impressive campaign. Podium finishes here in Budapest. This is where he scored his first podium last year, and then Paul Ricard and Barcelona as well. And wasn't the smoothest start to the year for him. He was testing late compared to everyone else. He missed the Barcelona pre-season test, but he did get some days in it with the team at Oschersleben. And well, since Portimao, which was a slightly rocky start to the year, he has been coming on strong. 2 podiums in Hockenheim, 2 podiums at Spa as well. 2 second-place finishes at Spa it was as well. So it's starting to come strong for Jakob Bergmeister, although he is now 4.8 seconds behind our race leader, Francesco Simonazzi. Only other driver lapping in the 136s at the moment is Michael Shin, who's now 3/4 of a second or so behind Benavides, and I have a feeling he's about to hit the wall that's going to just make it a little bit harder to push any closer to Benavides. We often see very difficult to overtake at the Hungaroring, even with these very adept machines, these fantastic Dallara 320 chassis, 575 kilogram car with plenty of downforce. It makes for a wild ride and fantastic to drive, and everybody who comes into this championship absolutely adores the car.
They certainly do, and it's being put on fine display here with The top three all sharing very close proximity. In fact, the top four, what should I say, second, third and fourth sharing very close proximity to each other. And if you take a look at three of the top four, all of them appearing in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. Benavides, the only one to go that one step higher, jumping into Formula 2 category. The precursor to eventually getting into Formula 1. Of course, many of them do that. Felipe Drugovich off the back of winning the F2 Championship, now at Aston Martin as a reserve driver. And, of course, holds the record, the all-time wins record with 14 here in the Euroformula Open Championship that was so nearly broken by Olli Goethe only 2 seasons ago. All Goethe needed was a decent ending with the final 2 rounds to go in order to build the numbers up to reaching that 14. He finished on 11, but should it continue like this, obviously if Brad Benavides claims 7 wins this season in a run-up to potentially becoming champion, he will join a collective with the likes of Leonardo Polcini, Cameron Dass and Noel Leone.
You think about like that Olli Goethe season, didn't he run off the road in at the Pau Grand Prix as well while he was leading, which would have been...
It was Vlad Lomko who actually went ahead to win that weekend, which was quite momentous because, of course, it was Vlad Lomko's rookie season. And by that same token, not only did Lomko go on to be successful at Pau, he would then also land a charge against Oliver Goethe when many thought that it would be this weekend's Formula 3 pole sitter Christian Mansell who was going to take the fight to Goethe. And at the very start of the season, you would have quite rightly assumed that that would be the case, but Vlad Lomko rose to the occasion. Always had it in his mind, Lomko, that he was going to pursue a future in Le Mans prototype category racing. That was always his plan. But a ripe talent. We've had so many ripe talents in this championship competing in the past. And
Vladislav Lomko just finished second at the Le Mans 24 Hours into Europol, the LMP2 category, just recently. So, yeah, making his prototype dreams come true there. So, plenty of drivers end up going higher up the single-seater ladder or ending up in very competitive Le Mans prototype class. Here we can see our race leader, Francesco Simonazzi, flamboyant at the wheel as ever, with a nice little swapper in the middle of the chicane there, but very neat on the way out. His lead now 6.4 seconds over Bergmeister, and now the only driver still able to lap within the 1:36s. This is, absolutely dominant performance from Simonazzi, as Benavides still can't find a way to close up on Bergmeister. And if anything, Michael Shin looks a little closer to Benavides than Benavides does to Bergmeister.
Certainly does. And just to fathom this, going back to Vlad Lomko, I've got to talk about his podiums, that 2022 season, 19 podiums, which is vastly more than what Bent Viscal managed to achieve back in 2018 and Ferdinand Habsburg in 2016 for DriveX. He managed to get 12 that season, but Lomko superseding them both, getting 19 and holds the record for the most in rookie standing competition.
Talking about Le Mans prototype drivers, there's 2 fantastic ones right there, Ferdy Habsburg and Bent Viscal. Was a lot of success in America.
So there is a trend, see?
As well.
Yeah. Clearly.
Oh, yeah, well, we were talking about Nicholas Cruton yesterday as well, weren't we? But, of course, plenty still go down the single-seater route. I mean, I lose track of how many drivers in the FIA F3 field this year came through the Euroformula Open Championship. I mean, we contributed 5 drivers to F3 for this year from last season.
And that sensational Imola weekend as well.
Yes, all of them on the podium.
Yeah, which was fabulous to see as we take a look at slow-mo images of Bergmeister, Benavides, and also Michael Shin flying through turn 6 and turn 7 before then making their way into sector 3 proper. There's Simonazzi now as we return to our live feed. 8 laps still to go, and the Italian still pursuing more and greater delta. In fact, catching up with Fernando Barrichello, who is back out on track on his new set of Pirelli tyres. And the gap now between Simonazzi and Bergmeister stretching to 7 seconds. A good, confident drive for Simonazzi, which I'm sure will serve him well when we go racing for race 3 later on this afternoon.
Yes, it'll be Bergmeister starting on reverse grid pole for that one, having qualified in 6th. And Levente Revesh will be sharing the front row with him. Of course, home race for Levente Revesh. Grew up just a couple of 100 kilometers down the road from Budapest. Started racing in the Italian scene in F4 just a couple of years ago, 2021. Moved into Formula Regional Championship in 2022 as well. Did a couple of years there before joining the Euroformula Open Championship, and was a podium finisher in his debut weekend at Monza, and then became a race winner in Barcelona. Just a couple of rounds, or the following round, I should say. There's Simonazzi. Is he coming up to lap? Barrichello now, of course, has been in the pits for that tyre change after contact on the opening lap of the race with Revesh and Bergmeister. I'm going to say, given that Revesh he is back out on track, is Revesh, so they've looked over the damage and considered it safe to go back out again. But yeah, considering Revesh had damage enough to have to come into pit lane, you think Bergmeister's actually got away very luckily with just a bit of a skim on the rear. And you know, there probably is damage on the back of his car, which is not aiding his performance, and maybe that's a contributing factor to the almost 8-second gap now that Simonazzi has been able to pull over the field.
But what I suppose Bergmeister will take into account is that he still has all 4 tyres that he started with on the car, so he's not eating into any of the new set that he will have coming through to race 3 later on, so he will have the benefit of that performance. But at this point now, 7.8 is the gap between Bergmeister and Simonazzi, as Simonazzi comes up towards the line to commence his next lap. 6 to go here in this Euroformula Open race, race 2 here at Hungaroring. Brad Benavides now losing a little bit of time against Bergmeister, as Bergmeister's treading into no man's land here at this point, with Michael Shin a second back from Benavides in his own right. Revesh also playing catch-up on Barrichello just ahead, but it's got quite a few laps to try and counteract against him. There's Simonazzi coming through turn 3 now, and we just caught Barrichello out in shot, who is on that fresh set of Pirelli rubber.
Think about the importance of the start for Simonazzi as well. We saw he was pointing right in the box before they even got underway, and darted straight over to cover off Bergmeister. Did get a good start and defended like crazy down, like practically hugging the pit wall to make sure he had the line for turn 1, and keeping the lead out of the first corner. Definitely had quite a big impact by the time they got down to turn 2. Oh, big swapper there for Michael Shin coming through the chicane. Can't say he's not pushing.
Full commitment, heading out of turn 7, and you know, managed to precisely place his car inside of the white line on the escape, heading through towards turn 8. As now Simonazzi comes through turn 13. Perhaps it's going to test the metal of his car by trying to close up onto the back of Barrichello. Good litmus test and a good practice potentially for later on this afternoon, as we take a look again at Michael Shin coming through turn 6.
Was this the swapper?
I believe so. You just see how much commitment he had, and the rear end stepping out at the same time, twisting the wheel to find that grip, and then set himself straight, heading through towards turn 8.
Absolutely love that. It's unusual feature of these cars is the side air intake there, which is why the mirror on the left-hand side sits so much higher than the one on the right. It's,
helps the visibility.
Yeah, slightly funky design there, as we see Simonazzi has put a lap on Barrichello there now. So Simonazzi just completed lap 12 of 4 and a bit laps remaining. There's a 30-minute time limit in these races, but without safety car intervention, we're good to go. Getting the full race distance in.
Obviously Barrichello giving way to Simonazzi at this point. Blue flags no doubt would have been in use to ensure that that move was made so that Simonazzi could just focus on what's ahead of him, and he's very nearly cleared Bergmeister by 10 seconds. Only got another 8/10 to find before he does achieve that. Bergmeister still working hard, though, to keep Benavides at bay. That gap still maintaining around a second, with Michael Shin now starting to poke back into within the second territory. It was at 9/10. It's just flitted out to a second now, so no question, Michael Shin going to work here, the Korean, in order to obtain a podium.
Fastest car in the speed trap at the moment appears to be Michael Shin, which is 220.8 kilometers an hour. That makes sense. He's got a double slipstream effectively between Bergmeister and Benavides in his hunt for a place on the podium. So listen to the downshifts there, the revs on that Spies engine. Here's Levente Ravesh in his home race, back out on track, and millimeters away from the grass there.
Yeah, just looking to give a good account, just leading through towards the end of the race. Try and close things out in race 2, get some laps in under his belt. Obviously, can consider this an extended free practice session, I suppose, in his own right, considering he's 4 laps off. But we'll tee him up for, hopefully prepare him for another race later on this afternoon. As we now witness Bergmeister again making his way through the chicane at turn 6 and 7. Gap still maintaining at a second right now between he and Benavides. Michael Shin trying to urge closer. Benavides has broken back to within a second and is actually closing here on young Jakob Bergmeister.
So I think it's just under a second now between the two cars fighting for a spot on the podium. 8/10 of a second coming through the second timing split on the lap. Be 3 and a bit laps to go when they cross, or 3 laps to go when they cross the line. Heading back out onto the straight. See Michael Shin getting a little detached now. He's 1.4 back from, or 1.6 now back from Benavides. So seems like Benavides starting to put the hammer down ever so slightly. He took a 10th out of Bergmeister on that previous lap. Should things stay as they are, it will still be another podium finish for Benavides. He'll maintain his near perfect podium record. So it'll be a 9th podium of the season for him.
Full commitment.
10th, sorry.
Full commitment coming through turn 4 here from Michael Shin, who is still desperately working to close that gap. It's gone out again, though it's 1.5 between Michael Shin and Brad Benavides. Clearly Benavides very one-track minded right now, only concerned about Bergmeister, who sits in second place. And now he's brought that gap further within now, into within 8/10. He's now creeping into the 7/10 of a second realm as he now peels through this next right, the familiar AIX livery. Here on boarded with Team Motor Park, very similar to the one that we see on the GT3 car belonging to Marcos Seber and Diego Menchaca in International GT Open competition. Brad Benavides now stretching through turn 13, then will rise through towards turn 14 and again finding more delta, cruising to nearly within 7/10 of a second, and is going to look to bring maybe a last-ditch fight in the closing couple of laps that we have left here in this Euroformula Open scrap here in race 2. You never know, as they now look to battle for the latter 2 spots on the podium. P2 up for grabs. What has Bergmeister got left against Benavides?
2 laps to go. Still 8/10 of a second between the 2 cars. Benavides is really going to have to dig deep here if he wants to try and usurp the young German for second position in this race. Here's a reminder, Francesco Simonazzi is in this race. He's just well clear of everyone else. Class of 1 today for Francesco Simonazzi.
Oh, very committed.
Yes,
going
that's
through
a lot
turn
of curb.
6.
A lot of curb there. But
Wow.
on course for his 6th victory in the Euroformula Open Championship. And I'm going to say that tentatively because I said that about Mikhail Patamba and Dominic Baumann yesterday, and then it started raining. So err on the side of caution. But let's take a look at that again. That's a GT amount of curb that Simonazzi was able to take there.
Well, we all know about his flamboyance when it comes to racing. He likes to get the rear out generally when it comes to taking these apexes. As he now twists his way through turn 14, he'll bring an end to the penultimate lap of the race, and then it will bring on the final lap. And Francesco Simonazzi for BVM Racing, already enlisting to his name 2 race wins this season for the Italian outfits and for he himself. Of course, recording, you know, some reasonable podiums through the course of this campaign. Came into this weekend second in the championship, and will look to be adding greater points to his championship once more as he now heads through turn 2, turn 3 to come. The scene of where he made that beautiful overtake on Oliver Goethe in pursuit of Christian Mansell back in 2022, as he now climbs up towards turn 4 and then through towards turn 5. It's been a well-measured performance, and with 11.7 seconds to the good in his favour, he's looking in rude health right now.
Certainly is. And exactly what the doctor ordered. His head will be banging either side of that cockpit if he's not careful. But yeah, exactly what the doctor ordered for Simonazzi's championship. Of course, was nearly 80 points down in the championship going into this second race of the weekend. But he will certainly be closing up on Benavides in terms of the points with this superlative performance here, with Benavides in 3rd position. And so we'll wait to see what the points look like at the end of the race. But meanwhile, Francesco Simonazzi around the final corner, and for BVM Racing takes his 3rd victory in 2024 in race 2 at the Hungaroring. 2nd position, we'll have to wait quite a while for it. We see the BVM Racing team celebrating Simonazzi over the line. There is Jakob Bergmeister to take his first podium finish of the season, but his 5th in the campaign, and Brad Benavides on the podium. And we said he would have his work cut out for him with the difficulty in overtaking here. Maybe a little bit lucky at the start with 2 cars off the road. Michael Shin in 4th. And Fernando Barrichello already across the line in 5th position. There will be Levente Revesh in 6th in his home race. But you can see it still means so much to Francesco when he wins in the Euroformula Open.
He loves his championship. He loves this car. The Italian stallion strikes once more here at Hungaroring. A legacy long written since 2021, where he made his debut in this championship. And after that famous victory back at Austria, the one that really opened his account, and now coming back here this season, has every chance of pursuing for more.
Francesco Simonazzi, 12.5 seconds to the good in the end over Jakob Bergmeister, who takes his first podium of the weekend. Brad Benavides in 3rd, Michael Shin 4th, Fernando Barrichello and Levente Revesh, after contact on the opening lap, reduced to 5th and 6th. And remember, Barrichello had to take a new set of tyres. That could compromise his race 3. And we see it has closed up 69 points now, the gap between Benavides and Simonazzi. Jakob Bergmeister 86 back now in 3rd, with Levente Revesh in 4th and Michael Shin in 5th. Fernando Barrichello in 6th position as well, 20 points back from Shin. So 3rd victory of the season for Francesco Simonazzi. He hasn't quite managed to put in that same level of consistency in terms of the podiums. It was really strong starts of the year, but started to sort of fall away a little bit at Spa. And then obviously yesterday the contact didn't help him very much either, but an extra 3 podium finishes to his name, in addition to the now 3 wins he's scored so far in 2024. Going from strength to strength, this young Italian.
First win for him at Hungaroring as well. It's been, like I said, taking part in this championship since 2021, and now has a great chance, along with closing the gap in the championship, to try and upset Brad Benavides' championship ambitions. Of course, Benavides will be coming back, I'm sure, in our 3rd race that's going to come up this afternoon. But a big win for BVM alike, and we saw Giuseppe Mazzotti on the pit wall, celebrating his car coming home on top here at Hungaroring. Simonazzi is somewhat of a fan favourite. Many of them do love to see him win. He's very passionate, loves this sport, loves this series, and loves this car, the Dallara 320, that has provided us certainly with many great moments in the past and still continues to provide us with many great moments. The drivability of this machine is excellent. And just look at Francesco nodding his head in approval. Yes, that's victory, my friend. You've struck once more. 3 wins, a triple dream this season for Francesco Simonazzi.
Popular young man is Francesco. And, rightly so as well. So, combining his Euroformula Open campaign with his studies in the UK. And, I still can't remember what it is he's studying. I need to go ask him a double check, but it's something well beyond me. Bergmeister there. Just realised it that because it was Bergmeister that Simonazzi ran into the back of yesterday, and so that's 2 hits on the rear that Bergmeister's taken. I don't know what they've made the rear of that number 26
Painted a big target on the back of it.
Like big dartboard.
Clearly.
Yeah, Benavides congratulating the race winner there. And of course, Benavides has to go from 5th position this afternoon, having qualified on the front row of the grid. Oh, what I wouldn't give for an Italian translator.
Fabulous, just conversing, obviously with Alfredo in the background.
Brad Benavides, his 10th podium finish of the season in 3rd, having risen from the back of the field. Spent most of the race looking at the back of this man, Jakob Bergmeister, his 5th podium so far this season and his first of the weekend at the Hungaroring. But up at the front, an absolutely dominant display from BVM Racing's Francesco Simonazzi, who takes his 3rd victory of the season, and he's downstairs with Alfredo.
Francesco Simonazzi, winner at Hungaroring Race 2, your 3rd success of the year. And a race basically from flag to flag, but you never stop pushing.
Yeah, I don't know how I managed to get the tires in the correct window for the entire race. I thought that after 3 or 4 laps, the gap would remain the same and probably the others would catch me a bit on me, because being at the front loses you a bit of adrenaline and then you start to feel a bit dizziness and fatigue. But I don't know what I ate this morning. Probably some type of strange cereal that gave me the boost to continue all the race and keep pushing like crazy.
A race on your own, but great satisfaction.
Yes, it is. It is indeed. What a race. I mean, I still can't manage to think of what happened, because I started pushing from lap 1 to the last one, never giving up and never losing more than a second from what I was doing.
Well done, complimenti, enjoy the moment.
The familiar hand heart from Francesco Simonazzi. Let's see how he did it then. So off the line, covering off Jakob Bergmeister from pole position right from the get-go. Bergmeister really did give it his all at the start, soaking up that slipstream, and he was leading by half a car length going into the first corner. But you see that little wobble there as Barrichello went out wide. Simonazzi stood his ground on the inside and was leading, and that was very important because of this moment with Fernando Barrichello tagging both Bergmeister and Levente Revesh at the start. Bergmeister able to survive, but Revesh having to come into the pits, as did Barrichello. But Simonazzi stretched his legs out at the front of the field, building a 12.5-second gap in the end. It's unlike anything we've seen all season long, and a very rare sight in the Euroformula Open Championship to take his 3rd victory of the season. A thumbs up from Giuseppe Mazzotti as BVM Racing are back on the top step of the podium. And yes, I think BVM Racing, they need to, well, either find out what made the car so quick today, or Francesco needs to find whatever that special cereal was he was eating this morning.
Well, we always say Weetabix back in the UK, but
Yes.
clearly Simonazzi has eaten his. Victor once more for the third time this season.
How much do they pay you to say that?
I can tell you, other cereals are available.
Yes.
But yes, here we go. The podium here for Hungaroring. Brad Benavides will take the third step. I'm sure you would have fancied something a little more, but brace yourself for race 3, because I think we're going to be in for a cracker. And no doubt Jakob Bergmeister will follow him and take the second spot, with eventually Francesco Simonazzi in the familiar fluorescent green and, well, fluorescent yellow, I'll say, and white overalls.
Absolutely. Now, Francesco Simonazzi, top step for the third time this season, and we will hear the Italian national anthem for him once we have the BVM representative joining him on the podium, and of course Fernando Barrichello as well. Congratulations to Francesco Simonazzi. I mean, when do you ever see a performance like that? 12.5 seconds, George. That's something unreal.
Yeah, truly remarkable. And it's great to see that the championship gap has been brought closer. Obviously, we're now in the realms of the second half of the campaign, and there's still some very appetizing rounds to come, lots of racing. Obviously, the scene, like I said before, Austria to come soon as well later into the season. Of course, we've got Paul Ricard next. And some of these are tracks that I think that Francesco will no doubt perform at, obviously alluding to his successes at Spielberg in the past. But, you know, Paul Ricard always opens, you know, a wide door for potential drama and action.
He won't thank me for reminding him of this, but of course he had the
of the shunt
lead with Noah Leon.
Noah
yes,
Leon.
Paul Ricard
Fighting for the lead.
race 1. It was a very good battle right up until the contact. So maybe he can make amends for that one. But Simonazzi lifting the trophy aloft. You just see how much it means to this young man. Every trophy is cherished for him. I think that's his trainer on the left-hand side there as the BVM representative as well. And of course the rookie trophy to be handed out as well. Jesus Pereira, the CEO of the GT Sport organisation, the promoters of the Euroformula Open Championship, and of course the International GT Open and the GT Cup Europe. They pose for the photos. We do still have one more race to come. It's another reverse grid 17-lap encounter. But this time it will be Jakob Bergmeister starting on reverse grid pole. Join us at 5:45 local time this afternoon for the final race of the weekend.